gavel. So this meeting of the City of Erie Historic Review Commission for Monday, May the 5th, 2025 is called in session. First order of business is roll call. Commissioner Brennan?
Here.
Commissioner Mayer? Here. Commissioner Pepper? It's not with us at the moment. Commissioner Tenenbaum?
Here.
And Commissioner Falcone, myself, is here. Do we have Director Spry? Here. And I think Assistant Planner? No. What's Jason's formal title?
He's ex officio. He's in the planning commission.
Who is, I believe, absent. And then Assistant Planner Moore, present as well. All right, thank you.
Matthew, I just need to make one adjustment to this agenda. I got my commissions messed up, I think, on this one. Instead of secretary, it should say other above Cooper's name. Cooper is not the secretary.
Indeed.
Of this commission.
Thank you. We'll note the correction. Next order of business is public comment. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak?
Hannah.
Hearing and seeing none, then we'll move on to the next order of business, which is the approval of past meeting minutes and certificate of appropriateness report. So for those that are here, have you had the opportunity to review our regular meeting minutes from April 7th, 2025? And if so, do you have any comments or changes? Right. Hearing none, would someone care to move that we approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting on April 7th.
Thank you, Commissioner Brennan. Is there a second?
Here. I'll second it.
Thank you. Second from Commissioner Tenenbaum. All in favor? I'll do a voice vote. Say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Next is Certificate of Appropriateness Report. We have no COAs to report. And lastly, then, public correspondence. I asked our staff, have we had any correspondence from the public that needs to be read into the record?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Then moving on to old business. Zoning ordinance amendments for Article 7. I turn then to Director Spry, who I know has been orchestrating moving this through the system. Could you speak to where we are at?
Sure. Last week we submitted, or I think it's been 1 week, right? About a week, we submitted the draft ordinance to the solicitor's office. So it is complete at the moment, and it's in review with Jason Check. The hope is that we will have comments and a discussion around the edits, any edits that the solicitors might have this week, so that we can schedule, and I was going to ask the HRC, the commissioners, to make a motion to hold a special meeting in this month so that we can approve Article 7 once we've completed the review and comment by the solicitor's office. We are the schedule that we would like to hopefully attain is that we would approve Article 7 at a special meeting this month, HRC, to meet the Planning Commission meeting, which is the 20th, I believe. Yes. So that we would be able to, it could go in front of the Planning Commission on May 20th. I know that's an aggressive schedule, but once it goes to Planning Commission, I'm sorry, I have to open my calendar because now I'm getting myself messed up. Because Planning Commission has a special meeting for Article 7 also already scheduled. Right. So Planning Commission, we'd like the HRC, the commissioners, to have 2 weeks, at least almost 2 weeks, to review Article 7. So within 2 weeks from today, we'd like to schedule a special meeting before May 20th, because Planning Commission has an already scheduled special meeting to review Article 7 the same day that they have their regularly scheduled meeting. So the hope is to pass, to approve at Planning Commission to have that, the Article 7 amendments on City Council's agenda for June. It would require 2 readings, and even before I think we get to City Council, we also discussed having a study session with Council to review the amendments. So we're hopeful that will all take place in June. We'll have the 2 readings, and final adoption would be beginning of July. It would be adopted in June and then reopened in July. I'm sorry. Does that make sense? So my request would be to ask the commissioners to call for a special meeting for this month for Article 7 review and approval.
And you said that the Plan Commission's regular meeting is Tuesday the 20th.
Yes, and their special meeting, and they're having their special meeting first, and then their regular meeting after that,
I
all
see.
on the 20th.
Okay. All right, then. I think, Commissioners, to give us enough time, I think, to have the review completed by City Legal and then to have us review, we'd be looking at prospectively May the 16th or 19th to meet. What works best for all of you?
Well, I'd have to look at my calendar. I can't remember what I have going on.
May 16th is a Friday, just to let you know.
Right.
Yes. That works for us. I don't know if that works for you. That's available to, that day is good.
Okay.
I think I'm out of town on the 16th. When are we talking about, the 20th then?
The 20th is the date of the Planning Commission meeting.
There's already
so
a
we'd
meeting
need
on
to
the
meet
20th.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to have it before.
There's
then.
already a
Either
meeting on the
that
20th?
Mondays
Could
and
we do
send
it
an
like
invitation for
earlier,
the 20th.
like next week or something?
Oh, that's
Yeah,
for the Planning
next
Commission. So
Friday.
I sent that out
Or-
as a,
Okay.
if you would like to attend their review,
Okay.
so that the commissioners could, the Historic Review commissioners could be present at the Planning Commission, and we can't have a quorum, obviously, but if a few commissioners would like to be part of that study session, that working session with the Planning Commission, that's why I sent that, that date out. Just to notify you that that was taking place.
Okay.
Right. Commissioner Pepper said that the Friday will likely not work for you, Friday the 16th.
Right.
Other commissioners?
What time on the 16th?
I don't know, lunch? Or
Or
around then?
prior to lunch might be a little bit better, if
Is it-
possible.
Is it a Teams meeting or?
Well, it depends. We could have it a hybrid like we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
We could have those that want to meet in person up in the planning department conference room, and then we can offer a virtual option as well.
You said a bit before, like 11 o'clock then? You said before lunch?
That
or-
would be good.
On the 16th.
Yeah, that would be good. If you,
Yeah, I'm out of town that day, but that's okay. I mean, I can go to the thing on the 20th.
and you could also provide comments and edits prior to that,
Okay.
session, and then we can discuss that.
Sure.
And if we have questions, we could reach back out. Melinda, is that good for you?
I actually don't have my planner with me, so just go forth and schedule.
You
Okay.
sure?
So the 16th is a meeting between who and who? You just confirm that.
So the 16th would be a special meeting that you'll call today to review the comments that the solicitors may have
And
on,
it's going to be what time?
and at 11 o'clock.
11.
Yes, and I'll send out a calendar. Melinda, if you wish, I can send out a calendar hold, and then if there's another date, no, you want us to go forward?
Go
Okay.
forth and schedule.
And you'll have the Article 7, you'll have it prior to that, so that if you have comments for the other commissioners, you can provide. Okay.
And what time is the May 20th meeting?
The May 20th meeting's at 11:30.
Okay, so we need to be here at 11:30, right?
That's only if you wish. So the May 16th meeting is just for Historic Review Commissioners to review the comments that the solicitors may have on Article 7. The May 20th meeting is for the Planning Commission to review Article 7, but I invited the HRC to attend since it's your document, and if you would like to provide comment, if you can make the May 20th, it would be great. If you can't, it's okay too.
And is the meeting here?
The meeting is here,
In this
yes.
room? Okay.
No, I'm sorry. It's the meeting, both of those meetings are upstairs in our, where Heather's office used to
Okay.
be, in the planning department. It's room 407, but I'll make sure to put that on the calendar invite.
Okay.
What you saw.
May 16th at 11 a.m. for HRC for Article 7.
Yes.
Okay.
Would one of the commissioners care to move that we hold a special session on May the 16th at 11 a.m. for the exclusive purpose of reviewing the Article 7 revisions?
I'd like to make the motion to have the internal meeting for the HRC to review the Article 7 revisions
All right.
at
Thank you.
11 a.m.
Sorry, Matthew, that's one correction. That was to review and adopt at that meeting, just to be clear, because we talked about scheduling, so I don't know if you need to change the motion, but
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Just to set the subject of the meeting, I think we're okay.
okay.
So thank you for the motion. Mr. Brennan, is there a second?
I will second it again.
Thank you, Mr. Tenenbaum. Let's do a voice call vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. I believe the motion carried unanimously. All right, thank you for that. Moving on then, I believe that we have a guest with us to talk about the next order of business, which is the Citywide Historic Resource Survey update. And I believe we have Grant Johnson joining us from EDR. So
Yes,
I
can you all hear me
look forward to
okay?
you.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry. Can you all hear me at all?
I wrote that
Component
down.
as well.
This is my friend Tony.
Absolutely.
Hi, Grant. Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
We can hear you very faintly.
Faintly.
So
Okay.
let us work on
I can move
speaker
closer.
issue on our end. Give us just a moment.
Should we turn them off?
Or put a microphone next to the speaker on that computer,
Oh.
maybe. Grant, if you would say something.
Testing. One, two.
Hey, that's perfect. Thank you for bearing with us then. So I yield the floor to you to provide us an update on how things are progressing with our citywide resource survey.
Sure. So we have had teams out in the field, several times this year. I'm not even sure what mobilization we're on, but I would say we're probably 80 to 85% done with the survey at this point. As far as the planning areas that we've surveyed, last year we did downtown, 12th Street corridor, and then part of West Bayfront. That was towards the end of last year, November, December, and then ever since then, the beginning of this year after the snow went away, we finished West Bayfront, did Bayfront, Pulaski Lighthouse, and Little Italy, and so we have about a third of East Bayfront left, and then all of Trinity Park. So we're hoping to take care of those in one more mobilization, hopefully next week. So that'll take care of the fieldwork portion of things. And then the next stage after that will be completing the data entry into with all the additional information that we don't need to collect in the field, but need to enter into the PA Share Surveyor Manager application, and then completing the 2 survey reports for Phase 2A and Phase 2B. And just to refresh, Phase 2A includes Bayfront, downtown Pulaski Lighthouse, and West Bayfront, and Phase 2B is 12th Street corridor, East Bayfront, Trinity Park, and Little Italy. Questions?
Commissioners or staff, any questions or comments?
Grant, I would just add that, we do meet biweekly with the
Yes.
EDR grant team, as we've given you updates over the course of their time. We also have been in contact with SHPO and working with QA/QC, but really we're looking at it through a little bit different lens than the state, and so we've been coordinating between the three of us. So, so far I know that Mike was out, I think, in the Pulaski Lighthouse, and then you said that, and then Little Italy was next. Are you still in Little Italy then, Grant?
No, Little Italy's done.
Okay, that's great.
They took care of that last week. Yeah. Yes, we are regularly in contact with both yourself, Jackie, and the SHPO, as you mentioned. We do have the website set up as well for public input on additional resources, which yielded a few things at first, but I don't really think there's been any submissions in a long time there. So I feel like we're doing a good job of covering everything we need to as part of this. But of course, if anything comes up within any of these neighborhoods, these planning areas that anyone is concerned about, you certainly can reach out to us via Jackie, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that we can to help you in any way we can.
Grant, do you mind just speaking about the story map too for just one moment, just to explain what you're doing with the photos that you've captured?
Yeah, so we set up a story map. Jackie probably has the link and can send it, or I can send it to her as a refresher. But it's basically a way of, I referenced that before with the website, of collecting information from the public of resources that just may not be captured by previous surveys, sort of typical historic resources inventories. We actually do this for virtually every survey that we do, historic resources survey that we do, just because there's often things that just slip between the cracks, or when a previous survey happened, something wasn't necessarily historic, i.e. it wasn't 50 years of age, or it was just missed, or some other factor led to it being excluded. So that's kind of been the motivating factor for collecting information through the story map as sort of a public outreach way of gathering information, supplemental photos that might not be available through the typical repositories, either in person or online. So is that a good summary, Jackie?
Yes, yes, and I think we had a press conference last week for Historic Preservation Month where we talked about the story map again, and hopefully with some of our other projects, we can continue to drive our community to that page to tell those stories. So, and I think, did you mention that you're using some of the photos that we don't have, some of the entries that didn't have a photo, you're now, with your field team being out there, you're using the photos that you've captured to insert into the story map for those entries that did not have a photo associated with it. So
that's correct. Yeah, helping create a complete or more complete, just kind of redundant, record of historic resources within Erie. Because oftentimes, right, there are resources that were surveyed where there's no photo or it was out of date. So yeah, it's all part of just like, again, creating an up-to-date record as of 2025 of all of these resources within these planning areas.
thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions? All right. Grant, thank you for joining. Oh, no, sorry.
Oh.
I was just going to ask if you found anything that your team was surprised about or just was really unique to this community. Yeah, can you share with us an interesting finding or findings?
Yeah, actually, in West Bayfront, we identified a couple of potential historic districts. One is sort of I don't want to say typical, but like sort of early 20th century residential development, like really good integrity, constructed as single family homes. I don't know that they all are now, but then there's one, I would have to look at a map. It was, I'm sorry, I should have been prepared for this question.
Talking about
Sorry,
the
go ahead, Jackie.
first one
Yeah.
that, because Michael also talked about this with us. The first one is on Cranberry, between Cranberry and Strong Vincent, those homes. And then I think the other one was Landmark Square, if I'm not.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and I might be wrong. I think that was the other one Mike had said that could be a potential district, which makes sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it on a map now. It was, yeah, it's, let's see. Oh yeah, Cranberry Street is the one of the sort of early 20th century, a lot of brick buildings. Like it's very clearly like a planned development with a lot of similar plans, like house, building plans that were used throughout this. How many blocks is it? Let's see here. Yeah, it's like four blocks, like almost like a perfect square between 6th and 8th, and then Washington Place, Japan Street, and Cranberry Street. So we're looking into that more. And then, yeah, Landmark Square was the other one. So those are both in West Bayfront that kind of jumped out to us initially in the field as like, oh, these are most certainly just based on evaluation in the field, like they felt like potential historic districts. And of course there's been lots of great individual resources throughout the different planning areas that we've surveyed, but those are definitely the two that come to mind first, I would say.
You know, I always thought Downing Court would make a nice district. You know, it's a very unusual street, and it has brick buildings on both sides. It's unique in the city, and it would be kind of a cute. And I think they even own the street. I think there's something unique about that. But Downing Court between 8th and 9th off Poplar is kind of unusual. Between 8th and 9th, it's a one-block dead-end street that has brick buildings on both sides. And again, I think they own the street. There's something very unusual about that district, that thing, but it would make a cute little district.
Yeah.
A little pocket.
Jackie, I can probably send you some information because at one point our West Bayfront had reached out wanting information on Downing Court, and I had done some research. So if that is something that you'd like more information on, I'd be happy to send that to you.
Oh, for sure. We, you know.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, this rings a bell. Yeah, this was definitely something that we noted as well. So yes, Downing Court, that is on the radar. But yes, any supplemental information that can be provided that would limit like any redundant work that we might be doing would be good. Certainly, if we'd love to receive that. But also, you know, half of the fun of this is, you know, researching the stuff ourselves. So, you know, either way is fine. But yeah, this is a good collection of buildings. I agree.
Even the houses on 9th Street there are beautiful, that, you know, abut to that. There's like 3 or 4 in a row that are really stunning.
Yeah.
All right, well, Grant, thank you for joining us. I think I'll look forward to this process being completed and the good weather that I'm sure will help speed things along. So
We're hopeful as well, yes.
all right, then moving on to our next agenda item, May, which is Preservation Month and updates on that. I can take part of it, if you don't mind, and give everyone a brief on last week, and then I'll turn things over to Assistant Planner Moore and back brief us on a little of the events to come. So we did have a press conference, the mayor had a press conference. We were invited to join last week. Went pretty well. I know that I think for those of you that have been following along in the news, there was kind of 2 different preservation stories at the same time, which is happenstance, but worked out very well. That repairs that are going on to the old Customs House, I know made the news, and then the next day was a press conference. So we talked a little bit about the successes over the past year that we had talked about, and kind of what the year will look like moving ahead as well. And we were kind of gracious enough to be interviewed, I think, by the media too, about what the program is, how it's been functioning, and kind of what to look forward to in the year ahead. So all in all, good success. I know that we're teeing things up for the end of the month, though, and I'll turn things over to Cooper to talk us through.
Thanks. Yes, we're hosting a Historic Preservation Month celebration event at the Erie Art Museum. We've locked down the date and time as May 29th from 5 to 7 p.m.
The 29th, did you say?
Yes.
Thursday, May 29th. It's on the mayor's calendar, so the mayor will be in attendance to share some thoughts on the successes of our historic preservation program and the importance of the work. We've prepared letters for each of the 5 designated properties already, signed by the mayor and Matthew as chair of the HRC, that we'll present to the designees, congratulating them on their designation at that event. A couple things still to be worked out regarding food and drink, but we have drafted an invitation list that I'm going to send to the administration this afternoon, and they'll put together invites with the communications department to send out since it's already May 5th. So, and upstairs also on my whiteboard, I have scribbled down the very beginnings of an agenda for the event.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
And it's at the Art Museum, right?
Yes.
And what's the time?
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
Yes. Yeah. There will be an evite sent out through the communications department once they vetted the invitation list that we've come up with.
Okay. Thank you for your hard work on this. I know it's a lot to orchestrate and falls a little bit outside of, I think, all of our planning purviews. Event planning is, you know. Anyway, thank you very much for that. Then moving on to our next item, I would turn to Director Spry. If you could provide us an update on the Historic Preservation Planner hiring process.
Yes, so we actually made an offer to someone, and they declined, unfortunately. So we reopened the...
Gosh.
Well, they were coming from outside this area, and they were quite a seasoned professional, and it just didn't work out. So so we reopened the application process, and we've already received a few applications, and there's some interest there. In fact, right before this meeting, I had requested for HR to set up some additional meetings. So fingers crossed this will all work out this time. So
Thank you for that, and thank you for being so on top of everything. I know a lot of what we had agreed upon when we had our strategic planning session for the year is going to be dependent on taking a lot off both of your shoulders for all of this. So thank you. Finally, then, I would actually ask you again to provide us an update on the Certified Local Government Project and our training grants.
right. So I think I might have mentioned in a previous meeting that is it Karen, right? Karen Arnold? Right. Karen Arnold had called me and said that she had some additional funding from FY 2023, I believe it was, that had not been spent. And so she asked me to quickly submit an application for CLG training. I did that. I believe it was in the amount of about, I think it's 5,000 possible. I think it was 5,000. And it was a very general application. I didn't have to go into the specifics of what exactly we wanted to be trained on for the commissioners to have training in. I have not heard back from her about that. She told me once that it went through the approval process, she would then reach out and we could then choose what kind of training we wanted. That being said, we can also apply for this year's CLG funding for training. And I know we've discussed having training on the design guidelines. That was one topic. So that's still kind of in the hopper. But there are other things that we could potentially have virtual trainings or an in-person that we can still do. So those are rolling applications. I'm happy to submit that for this year's CLG if you think that we should go ahead, or if you want to wait until Karen Arnold reaches back out to me. You are required to have 4 hours of training for the year per the CLG designation. So it's up to you. If you'd like, we can go ahead and apply for another CLG training grant. I mean, that can be used not just for training, but for conferences. I know the Historic Preservation Planner could potentially use that once we have someone in place. I think it's a good idea to apply for it. I'm not sure if they were. And Melinda, I think we talked about this. Was it open already? I know it was rolling, but there was some. They weren't sure if the money had come through yet, and they were still waiting.
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay. And that might have not been for the CLG mini grants or mini scholarships. I think that might have been for the other CLG project grants.
Okay.
So,
I know there are a couple different categories, training being its own. I remember we had our training, I think, early fall, like September. So it seems like if we have an opportunity, I think we should probably put in another application.
okay.
Because by the time the application is awarded and we're able to agree on exactly what sessions to sign up for, you'll be at the year's end before we know it. I wonder also if there's an opportunity to invite perhaps some of the other commissions, like the members of Planning Commission, to participate. Those who have a connection back to the historic preservation process. Maybe even some folks from zoning or from DPW even. I don't know, but I'm thinking kind of casting if there's an opportunity to cast a wider net as a bit of an introductory to historic preservation for others.
Our first training actually invited all of those folks, including all of the directors of the neighborhood groups as well, including the director of the Erie Downtown Partnership, and actually Emily did attend. I just think in general, any training that we do, it's just a good idea to cast that invitation broadly. It was also a Saturday morning, wasn't it? And so some folks may not have opted to commit their Saturday mornings to training.
I do think that with the reopening of the designations, it may be a good idea to blanket across, to have those understand what the process entails, what it's about. I can see where that may fit into one of the categories for the training, but I think that's a good idea.
We could reach out. There's a new executive director of the downtown, or the Growth Partnership.
Erie
Chamber
Neighborhood.
of Commerce, I don't know what they call it anymore, the Growth Partnership. But he's new, and I don't think he's from Erie.
Brandon
I've
from
seen-
Pittsburgh.
From Pittsburgh, but it'd be nice to reach out to him and include him in that so we could have a chance to meet people.
Okay.
Seems like a nice guy.
Okay.
I don't know who else would be on that list.
Well, that's a good start. I mean, the Planning Commission, because they're directly involved, possibly city council members, administration.
Make a wild concept here. You might want to do something to the Chris board. Just as a thought, and this is probably off topic, it might be better in new business, would be that the CRIS has a brand new map of CRIS zone. These are non-contiguous, 130 acres of non-contiguous pieces of real estate. It's very much already delineated. I am positive that in some cases there will be overlap between the historic districts that we're creating and the CRIS districts that they're creating. I would recommend that perhaps a certain amount of money from the CRIS fund could be allocated to historic preservation, a fund that we would control and be able to do good work within these districts over the long haul. This is a 30-year plan that they have. My understanding is that it's probably going to produce about $15 million a year for 30 years. It would not be a horrendous idea to get
No, not at all.
500,000 on an annual basis in the, for us to assist in historic preservation within the CRIS district. It is literally their mission. A CRIS, community revitalization, economic or something zone. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is definitely a urban renewal type process. I think it would be a good idea to try to get it on the ground floor.
I do too.
And we've talked about this, about the potential of how to fund what we were doing previous into the future when the other funds ran out. This might be the way to do it.
There's a CRIS board, right, an authority already created. So would it be best to speak to people from that board, or who is?
I would approach the board. I would make an appointment to the board. I'd be happy to go with you. But Michael, he's the president.
I think before
Polito is the executive director.
before making a presentation, I think, drafting a proposal and understanding if this is even first allowable, making sure all of, because, I think it's a great suggestion. I just, before we would make any formal presentation, just to be very prepared. So, I'm happy to find some more information out, to speak to Brian Polito, or if you wanted to make some calls, Mark, and then get back with me, that's okay. That would be great too, if you wouldn't mind starting that conversation, and I'd be happy to organize, and maybe we have another special meeting that we have, or we have a small group of commissioners that work on a proposal together, with staff, of course. But that would be excellent to have that kind of flow of revenue.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. The Venn diagram of our missions, there's a substantial amount of overlap.
There definitely is overlap. I don't know how much, because again, there's non-contiguous, and it goes like the zoo is like a part of it. And there are the Parade Street corridor is part of it. So they have very specific parts.
Right.
PACA is part of it. So there are,
Lots of historic resources.
Yes, but it's not necessarily overlap with the economic development zone, which stops you, those types of things. It's different.
Yeah, and I could provide a CRIS map to the commissioners if you'd like to see one. Yeah.
We can do that.
Good
So
idea.
you'll reach out,
I'll
make,
talk to
and
Brian,
just
see if we
maybe,
can have a preliminary meeting and see if there's exploratory, see if we can work together.
okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
All right, then. Any other comments on?
Hannah.
Oh. Yeah. Please approach the podium and.
Is it on? I think about 2 weeks ago, when you were out of town, I actually typed up a document of what CLG grants and scholarships are available and what is actually maybe applicable to you guys. I'd be happy. I think I actually gave it to Cooper. So he has that document of what each grant program is and what scholarships are available for commissions. And it is rolling. So at any time, a commission or any group of people are able to apply and then get said funding. So I did do that research if you would like to see it.
Of course, and thank you. All right, then. So then moving on to new business. For hearing and action, historic nominations, there are none. The process remains closed. For hearing and action, then, applications for certificate of appropriateness, we have none, which brings us to item C, the historic resource nominations, interested applicants. So despite the process being closed, we have had several folks that have reached out, or several organizations that have reached out that are interested in learning more about the nominations process, what it entails, what kind of responsibilities go into place with it. I know that Director Spry has been organizing kind of a response for these. I've participated in some discussions with community groups. Director, I don't know how much you'd care to kind of open the floor up to what those conversations have been. I'm happy to yield to your desire for sharing information.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay to share the interests there. I mean, I'm all right with that if you feel that it's appropriate. I mean, one was the Erie Cemetery. I think
Yes.
that one was they're very interested in, and Matthew met with, sorry, I forgot her name at the moment, but met with someone from the Erie Cemetery. They're very interested in local designation and National Registry of Historic Places. So, yeah, that was of interest.
And the folks at, I believe it's First United Methodist, also reached out with an inquiry about learning more about the process, showing off the building and talking through kind of their own plans. So it's been wonderful because despite this process being closed, it's very apparent that there's still interest and that there's discussion within the community as well. So it's, I viewed this as being really reassuring that even though we've spent quite a while going through the revisions to Article 7, that the interest in the community remains strong in historic preservation and locally landmarking as well. It seems that when we open the process back up, it's very likely we'll have some applicants, and that we'll be able to continue to promote the program and the nomination process.
We're also trying to have Mayor Schember designate something for, champion something for this month, for Historic Preservation Month. We're still working on that with the administration, but we're hoping that he'll be able to nominate something, a city property, for when the nominations open up again. So to be determined.
Well, thank you for having those conversations. The city speaks with many voices, right? So I look forward to hearing a bit more about that in the future.
Now, are we still able to grant historic mini districts or whatever that we were trying to do, having our own historic register?
Not until we reopen the process.
Okay.
So I think that with the Article 7 revisions, we had identified some concerns. And we want to make sure that everything is very much legally possible and straightforward.
So after this next meeting, when do you think we will have that all behind us?
That's a good question. Ultimately, it's going to rest with City Council. So once we have our meeting next week and then review and potentially approve the changes to Article 7, it'll then go to the Planning Commission. They'll have their own review. And then it goes to City Council, I believe, in June, right? And so after City Council then hopefully adopts the recommended changes to the language of the ordinance.
And then we would be able to open that all up again.
Yes, it would come back to us to lift the moratorium that we placed on the process.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Cooper's also worked on the application itself, and our GIS administrator has actually inputted all of that as a digital form as well, so that when she's been working on it, and it looks really great. I looked at it last week, so everything could be submitted. I mean, there's still some tweaks to figure out, but everything can be submitted online. So she's been trying to get ahead of the game for us so that when we do reopen, we can set a new standard. So with this program, because right now not many of our submittals to City Hall are through digitally. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking that on.
Yeah. Erin Pence is our GIS administrator. She's been playing with it.
Convey our gratitude.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Any other questions or comments?
No, that was my only question.
Melinda, I know you've mentioned a few potential. I didn't know if you wanted to mention anything further there. Okay, not yet. Okay, got it.
But that brings us to our next order of business, which is item D, historic resource nomination fees. I believe that as part of this process, as with all city applications, there's traditionally a fee component. And I know that we've talked about this tangentially in some of our past meetings, about ensuring that we can assign an appropriate fee for a nomination, but also for a certificate of appropriateness application. And I defer to, again, city staff to walk us through this, because I fully understand this is much more your expertise than ours, but a really key component to reopening and restarting this process.
Yeah, we've had a few discussions, even when Kathy Rosdek was with Michael Baker, around fees and deterrents and things like that. I mean, currently our fee is $60 for residential, I believe, and $100. Is that right, Cooper, on the form? I can't remember. Residential was lower than the commercial fee, but it was nominal. It has been recommended to us to increase these fees enough to deter possibly someone using the designation in a manner that might be for other purposes other than historic resources. So I don't think that we've done a comparison yet, but we should look at other cities in Pennsylvania and find out what they're charging. I think we've seen as high as $300 or even higher for commercial. So I know that I remember seeing it was something like $1,000 for commercial. That seemed high, but yeah. So we could do a quick comparison and then send it out. But yeah, we definitely want to make sure that we establish the correct and appropriate fees prior to reopening the application.
Jackie, I was thinking about the what effort is required. You know, the effort required to look at a larger area versus a single entity is much different. So I'm thinking about what else, what are the other fees, comparables, but also just what is the effort?
Yeah.
Again, and not like we're looking to get it totally paid for, but at least approach it.
Right, and right, you're covering some of the administrative costs, of course, but I'm not sure if the City of Erie's fees are a good indicator. I don't think that they're. I'm not sure if those fees are increased, like a zoning fee, zoning variance fees. I'm not sure if those are increased yearly. So I think it's better if we look outside of City Hall fees at the moment, but we certainly can take into account the administrative fees, that the reviewing, you know, what has to be done on the city side staffing in order to, and then the time and commitment required for adoption. So, yes.
Public hearings, we have to bring people in to record the meeting, etc.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. The stenographer.
Yeah.
Right. That has to be part of it as well.
And that's not $60.
No.
Can I ask Cooper a question?
Sure.
About how many invitations are you sending out? I know they're just going out today.
For the art museum event. I think the list that we're sending to the administration has about 75 names on it, and they'll add and subtract as they see fit, but that's where we're at now.
And did we reach out to like the History Center and a couple of other places that might?
They're on the list, yeah.
But I mean, did we ask them to inform their list, their membership?
We've not done that.
Okay.
Craig, we also submitted it. I'm not sure if you received the email, but we asked the HRC to vet through the list. We asked the commissioners to look through the list that we started. And if there was anyone else to add to that list, we waited for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then we received responses, and then that list was then submitted to the administration to include whomever they felt would be appropriate. This event, while it is open to the public, the invitations were going out to primarily those individuals and organizations that have been involved from the very beginning from the very beginning of the creation and development of the historic preservation program at City of Erie. So we tried to keep a little bit of a scope and a focus because we wanted to make sure that it was, we were able to reach those that have been with us from the beginning. So
no, I was curious because I didn't know if you wanted to have 40 people there or you were, and I didn't know if you wanted 200. I was just
Yes.
I really didn't know the scope of the size
Sure.
of the event.
Yeah, we determined that early on that, while at some point down the road, I think it would be great to have this be a very much larger event and to be able to include the Hagen History Center members but at this moment, it's really honoring and recognizing those that have helped this program progress or that have applied for the grants or have really just been influential in making this program a success. And so that we tried to keep that focus so that we could do it, in a 1 month. That being said, down the road, I could see this growing into a much larger event, and certainly as we have more designations and more entities involved. But it's a good start. It's a good start.
I look forward to it.
To transition us back to fees, though, I guess one of the questions I had was about our jurisdiction. I don't know what role the commission would play in establishing fees, or if there's precedent with the other commissions, for planning applications or zoning even, how that process works within the city at large. I know typically a lot of this is set by kind of staff and considering kind of the internal machinations of all the logistics that go into an application. So is this something that you envision kind of presenting to us for consideration and discussion, or would you need us to ratify kind of what the fees would be? How do you kind of envision moving forward?
I have not done that process. I have not been involved in in the process of setting a fee yet.
Okay.
So it will be a learning curve for me, but I don't necessarily think that I need the commissioners to sort of advise. I'd like you to be informed, but I need to understand how those fees are set and then make a case for why they need to be what they're at. So yeah, I think that would be fine. I'm happy to still send out a comparison just so that you're informed of this is what they're doing in Lancaster or Reading or Pittsburgh for that matter of what the fees are. I know I've seen sort of one fee schedule where it breaks it down into different different uses, and then the fees are associated that way. But yes, I don't necessarily need. I need to find that out first on my own. Thank you for asking that.
No, that's quite all right.
Yeah.
It just wanted to set expectations as we move into the next meeting.
Where do the fees go? Do they go directly to the city general fund?
As far as I understand, yes. So any fee, like a zoning variance fee, if you're applying, which is $500, that's a fee of $500 if you're applying for a variance. That's been like that for quite some time.
And that's also non-refundable in case they turn down for a variance?
Correct. Correct. Well, that we'd have to determine that, but yes. So that goes into the general fund. It does not go back to the department or back to right. But I don't know if there are other, structures that we can look at to propose. I'd be happy to do that if I could.
I believe Commissioner Mayer has a point.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask too. We have the certificate of appropriateness, which also has a fee attached to it. So I know this is specifically asking about the nomination fees, but there is the certificate of appropriateness as well. And so I just want to make sure all of those fees are considered, right, versus just one. And to go to some of the programs that have the larger nomination fees, like the 1,000 for commercial properties, I am in no way, shape, or form asking you to call anyone. I'm just posing the question whether or not those higher fees are from programs that are well established, because I think in addition to the city's actual costs of processing these forms, in addition to that being a consideration, I would also ask that we consider the newness of this program and the fact that, you know, we are kind of in the infancy stages, and even if a lower than normal fee is set, perhaps we could set it with the knowledge that in 2 years we will reconsider based on the establishment of the program.
Noted.
Okay.
Because we've had this conversation.
Have you? Okay.
No, we've had this at the HRC meetings prior to about fees when we were discussing the application form, and I do recall talking about that, and you know, potentially setting them lower, and then within even 1 or 2 years, you know, increasing the fees once we got our feet on the ground. Yeah, noted. Thank you.
Another question is a certificate of appropriateness for administrative action versus someone that would go to the committee. You know, because there's, you know, if someone's coming and just has a window, maybe a simple administrative task versus coming to the committee and presenting. So that, yeah, I don't know if there's 2 fees, or maybe the administrative one is simple enough and there's no fee.
Right.
Just a thought.
And I think to your point earlier, and I think to Commissioner Meyer's point, like ensuring that we're not a burden or financial burden, especially for residents, is people's kind of, I don't know quite of how you can envision it, but people's homes, you know, places of worship, things that are a nonprofit organization, you know, they're very different than a traditional commercial sense. And I know that the city already has rules and regulations about different kinds of zoning, but it's important that we don't make this prohibitive. Yeah.
I apologize, but I have a meeting at 2 that I have to go to, and Cooper is going to give the director's report, so I'm sorry that I have to leave a little early today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, then, I turn to Acting Director Cooper. If you wouldn't mind providing us the director's report.
Sure. Department is very busy. We are administering this grant through DCNR for tree plantings that we need to finish out before it closes at the end of this year. We've just reworked the budget and added some partners and begun to reimburse partners for what's already done. And just on Friday, the window closed for submissions from consultants to do a tree inventory and sustainable urban forest management plan. And we received 4 proposals for that, so we have to look through those and choose a consultant to get that work underway. The Environmental Advisory Committee Council has formed 2 sub-councils to investigate a potential dark skies and outdoor lighting ordinance and an ordinance to ban single-use plastics in the city, specifically at first plastic bags. We are reviewing the draft safety action plan that's come out of our Safe Streets for All program. The consultant sent us a draft implementation plan for that program, so we're looking through and providing comments. And the next step for that, I think, would be adoption by City Council as well. But I know we're already running over, so I think.
Cooper, what was that? I'm so sorry. What was the last one that you're soliciting public comment for?
The draft safety action plan for our Safe Streets for All
Draft
program.
safety action plan.
There's a lot.
We're busy.
That's a lot. Well, all the more reason to thank you for everything that you're doing for this commission. All right, any other comments or questions from the commissioners?
Nope.
Hearing none, would anyone care to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Thank you. Voice call vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned.